What is up? Welcome to episode number 4. My name is Dan. You are watching Motor Time with us with the Motor Misfits. As always, I am joined with Mr. Craig. How are you today, sir?
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. We're getting over the weather down here, so it's starting to get a little nicer. So that's always
Oh,
a good
absolutely,
thing.
absolutely. Yeah, it's always a nice time when you're like, man, it's so nice out, and you look at the thermometer and it's like 40 degrees, but it feels like it's 60.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but that's really kind of it plays games with you. I was talking to you earlier, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be 55 or 60 degrees coming up, and of course everybody's gonna be walking out with shorts and t-shirt, and that's when everybody gets sick. Well, usually myself because I'm the idiot that does it. So,
Yeah, you go out in the shorts and
but
walk the dog and whatever, and you end up sick. So
exactly. But I know it's been a couple weeks here, but I know that we talked about it. But Harley dropped out their 2025 lineup. And that's kind of what this episode is going to be about a little bit, is talking about the new, I don't want to say new lineup, because there really wasn't any changes to the bikes, but more so the color combinations.
right.
Some changes I know that they did with the Lowrider ST. They changed that one, which we can go into that when we get to that one. But I know you were pretty excited. I mean, out of all of them that were dropped, which one kind of surprised you?
Yeah. So the touring models were released earlier. They were kind of soft dropped, I guess, at the beginning of January, and they released that there's not really a change in those bikes at all. So mechanically, they're the same as the 2024s. The difference, like you said, is the color combinations, and some of those colors are really pretty sweet. So you're talking your Road Kings, your Street Glides, your Road Glides. Those are all going to be the same as a 2024. But what Harley has done in the past week and a half, I guess, couple of weeks, they've released the Softail models. So the Lowrider S's, the Lowrider STs, your Street Bobs, your those bikes. They released and some updates to those, and some minor things to them, but making them kind of the new go-to, I guess, for the people who love those Dynas back in the 2000s up to about 2016 when they quit making the Dynas. So that's kind of the go-to, new bike. And then they released the what they call the street versions of the stuff, with the Nightsters and the Sportster S's and things this week. So I'm super excited about all of them because, of course, who doesn't like a new bike? I know if somebody said, "Hey
Mhm.
Dan, you can have a new bike," you're not going to turn them down, right?
Absolutely not. I'll be like, when we going?
Yeah, for sure. Where do I need to go to pick this one up? So, but the one that I'm really excited about, and I've got a Road Glide, a 19 Road Glide Special, and I've got a '08 Fat Bob, or not a Fat Bob, yeah, Fat Bob, that, um,
Hmm.
so I want something kind of in between those two, and I've been looking at the Sportster S's a lot. I think those are going to be, just a fun, all around bike. You're not going to jump on it and ride, 500 miles in a day, but if you're
Well, you
going,
would.
well, I would, but I'm the exception to the rule. When somebody says, "Hey, you can't ride this 500 miles," I'm like, "Bet me, I'll go do it." So, um, but I think that's going to be the bike of the future. I think you're going to have a lot of people jump on those because they're different. If you haven't seen the Sportster S, it's got the same engine as the Panamera. So it's got the 1250 Rev Max, and that puts out 121 um, foot pounds of torque, just stock. So you're looking at
Hmm.
bikes that the Lowrider S from the 19 year that I got my Road Glide was that same configuration, but you had to put the tuner on it. You had to put new exhaust. You had to do all this tuning and stuff to it to get it to that. Well, now it's coming from Harley
Mm.
exactly there.
Oh wow, that's it's crazy that Harley is starting to listen a little bit to their riders and what they're looking for. I mean, myself, I'm not a big fan of the Pan America. I think they look
Yeah.
very
Well, that's me too.
different, but there are
I'm not a fan of the Pan America either. I think it sits too high. I don't think it's like road riding worthy or whatever. But I love that engine.
right, but there are people out there like a lot of the BMW riders and some of the Honda riders and whatnot that they do like that off-road capability, but I don't see a lot of them taking advantage of it. I think it's more of just that look, that style, or sometimes the people that want the Pan America or be like, oh well, I've ridden a dirt bike before, so that kind of still gives them that dirt bike esque feel, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and I think
Um,
that's where Harley's kind of looking. Hey, let's see what everybody's really wanting. Let's see what their where the niche is, and I think that kind of fits quite a few of those people out there.
but I know we were talking and before a little bit before the show, and I know you got some stuff pulled up and we can look in it. But do you think that Harley is slowly gravitating more to the older crowd based on these MSRPs that they're putting out? Because
Yeah,
some of these bikes, when you look at what the stock for, me, I prefer I have an ultra limited, so I'm going to go with a bigger bike. I mean, I didn't look at what the ultra limiteds were going for, or whatever the new name is. It, and I know we can correct me, but the Street Guide Special starts at almost 27,999,
yeah. So what?
just base.
Right. So what's kind of interesting is the touring models actually took about a $5,000 decrease when they went from the 23 to the 24. So they were about 31 in 23, and then they dropped down to 25 something last year, and now they're pushing 26, 27. So you're climbing back up, but it took quite
Motion
a
detected at the front
decrease
door.
from there. So, the bikes that are on the screen, these are all what they call the Grand American Touring bikes. Your Road King, your Street Glide, your Road Glide, and then what they're calling the Street Glide Limited. I think that's what they're
Which is
calling it.
basically the ultra limited.
Yeah,
So they're starting to get away from the name ultra, I'm guessing.
yeah. I think that's where they're going. And what the big thing with this bike is they're going with the lowers. But remember, in the 24 model year, they went to the slim lowers on the bottom, or to the slim
Mm-hmm.
crash bar on the bottom. So they had to redesign that lower to fit there, and that's what they've done. And it looks, I mean, it looks pretty cool. I haven't seen one in person yet. I've only seen it online. But the ones that are really jumping at people a lot are the CVO versions. And here's where you're getting
Oh, for
into
sure.
exactly what you're talking about. Those are rolling out at about 47 grand. Before you do any of the paint and that stuff to them. So just it's 47
But they're
grand.
not doing a CV. They're not doing a CVO limited, are they?
No, no. So they've got the
See, that's
CVO.
that. But they haven't done that for a couple of years now. This isn't the
Yeah.
first year that they haven't done it.
Yeah, so the last one that I know of is the anniversary edition, um, CVO limited that had the like the maroon paint, that two tone paint scheme, and I think Harley
Right.
kind of listened to their people, because when you look at like the CVO Street Glide, um, they're listening because people are wanting black for their motors. So they gave you two black options. They gave you the Raven Fade, and this is the one that I just, in my opinion, is going to really jump. If you're a purple person, this Poisonberry is super sharp, and you can only get it
Imagine it
in.
with the Clockworks
Yeah,
windscreen on it.
exactly. So with
Oh,
the
good.
scorched, it's got scorched chrome. Notice it's 2 into 1. That's a big thing that Harley has done this year on a lot of their bikes. The Softails especially have gone to a 2-in-1 exhaust because people were taking the stock exhaust that they got from Harley and weren't even leaving the dealership. They were getting a 2-in-1 put on it before they ever even left. So Harley kind of listened and went with a
Really?
2-in-1 there. And you still have the option to get a chrome CVO, and it's going to come in the blue streak, which is still a sharp color. But if you look, kind of close, your price down here is $5,000 just for the paint. So,
Right.
it's jumping, quite a bit, um, you know, just for some paint. And is it sharp? Sure, but is it $5,000 sharp? I don't know.
I mean, when you look at it, I mean, a lot of those paint jobs are nice. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, but
Oh, for
I
sure.
mean, you could easily with the way things are. I don't want to say decreasing, but you could get your bike wrapped probably half of that $5,000, maybe $3,000, depending if you take the tins off and bring them to the people or
Yeah.
whatever. But it's like, is it worth the $5,000, like you said? There's
Yeah.
nothing special about it, like like the anniversary, like my 100th anniversary edition one.
Yeah.
If
The
you
one
look
that's
at it
sitting in our
really, really
garage.
closely, the one that's in your garage, if you look at it very closely, in the ribbon, the gold ribbon that goes through it, it says 100th anniversary on it.
Yeah.
So okay, maybe it's worth that. But when I look at some of these colors, granted, I'm not knocking them. I think it's great, but I would have to say, okay, is it $5,000 worth it? Now, take into consideration, my background, I sold cars for a living. So in the rule of thumb, for every $1,000 is a $20 a month payment.
Yeah.
So put that to, is it worth what is 100? Well, 4 or 5, yeah, about $100
About
more
$100
in
extra a month just for the paint.
extra. So if you look where it's set up top, 47,999, payments as low as 680,
Yeah. Now you're talking 780.
and that's not even including taxes, nothing. You're
Yeah.
pushing 800, $900 on a bike that, in order to be able affordable, you're going to kick that up to 72 months, 84 months, 96 months. Then you have to ask yourself, okay, am I somebody that's going to keep a bike for 7 or 8 years?
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the
So
head
is
when we.
Harley screwing themselves? Is Harley screwing themselves? I don't mean to cut you off, Greg, but is Harley screwing themselves? Why not make an affordable street model
Yeah.
that has all the stuff, fairing, lowers, all that stuff?
Well, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Those bikes, the CVO style bikes and the touring bikes, are for the older crowd who are looking for that kind of bike that you're going to hold on to for a little bit. It's not going to be one that you're going to trade around quite a bit. If you're looking for something that you can something a little different, um, this is I think this is where people are going to go, and this is the lowrider ST. It's still got the fixed fairing. It's got the 2-in-1 exhaust. It's got the 117 motor. It's got bags. But now you're looking at an MSRP of 24. So there's
Right.
quite a difference there. It's still a great bike, and it's one that a lot of people are going to jump at, especially with that Midnight Firestorm paint job. Um, you know, but it's not meant to be a touring bike. So I think
No, that's
they're
that's definitely for somebody that wants to get into the street glide model, but still wants to make it affordable. I mean, in order to get a street glide special or the street glide that they have right now, like I said, it was 27,999. So this is $3,000 less, mind you. It's still uh, not. It's going to be more of a 200 to 300 mile a day bike. It's not going to
yeah.
be, hey, let's take it down Route 66 and go 12, 1,300 miles.
Right. Now I know some guys say, hey, this ride's just like a road glide. It's going to be, perfect. I know Holy Shift, the guy, up in the New England area, he rides his lowrider ST everywhere. He rode it, all the way from New Jersey to the West Coast out to California this past summer, um, and just loves it. And you can do that on it, but it's going to be kind of one of those in between. You're going to have to be a guy who really loves it to do it on this bike, as opposed to the touring bikes. Now, something that's really interesting about the one that I've got pulled up there, that blue burst,
Hmm.
really sharp. I think it's even sharper with black, um, black exhaust, black accents, but you can only get it in the chrome. So you're going to see
Really
dealers, yeah,
interesting.
you're going to see dealers
Swapping.
start doing 10 swaps on these, just like they did on the touring bikes. They're going to 10 swap them around so that you can get what you want. If I go and I say, "Hey, I want a blue burst, but I want it in black," they're gonna 10 swap, another bike so that you can get it in black. The same that they did with the orange a couple of years ago.
Right. And again, if the color, the color, there's a couple colors that come both in the black and the chrome. Is that correct? That are the same.
Correct. Yeah.
So just as easy as they could do that, and of course the dealer probably will charge you a little bit just because they have to have the labor and whatnot, but they're going to be willing to do anything. I think these dealers, with the inventory that's coming out, I think the dealers are going to have difficult time. I think you're going to see a lot more inventory in these dealers, and I think they're going to want to deal this year. I
Yeah.
really think they're going to want to deal a lot more because up here, in the Chicagoland area, we had two, three dealers close before the end of the year,
Yeah.
or just after the start of the year. So I think they're going to downsize, and I think they're probably going to go to more of the, hey, you have to come to us, and not to make it as easy as for other people.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
And people who have who want a dealership that'll deal quite a bit aren't afraid to drive. That's exactly what I did. I drove the better part of 5 hours to pick up my bike because that was a dealer that wanted to deal, and that's great.
Yeah.
Um, you know, the so to segue in, the bike that I'm super super excited about is this one. It's the Sportster S, and if you look at the MSRP, the starting MSRP at 15,999, not a terrible price to start at, and you can get it in the Mystic Shift, which is the color that kind of changes as you know go around it. Um, the big downside to this bike is exactly what you're looking at. This back fender fairing brake area. Harley didn't listen. I don't know of anybody who bought this bike and left that on it. Most of the people
I was
pull
going to
that
say
off.
that's the one thing I would rip that off really quick.
Yeah, that comes off. There's a light fixture that you can put right underneath the fairing right there, or right underneath the fender right there, and gets rid of all of this, and then your license plate goes right on the side of it. But just
Now, do
overall,
you think that they did that on purpose? And I say this is, just maybe laws, because I know some vehicles are required to have like a bumper. Is that like, oh, that's your
yeah,
bumper?
I
I
don't
mean, because
know.
once you get rid of it, but
Yeah,
crotch rockets don't have this, and this reminds me more of like a crotch rocket, but just with
yeah,
a bigger motor,
yeah. So literally
size
there,
wise, not
yeah,
CCs.
literally there are two bolts that come off, and that whole piece comes off. And it was designed that way. There's tons of YouTube videos out there of, hey, take these two bolts off and take that thing and throw it in the trash. Um, so that's kind of what they. I'm with you. I'm betting it's probably a law or something that you've got to have it. But if you look at this RevMax engine, it's just a beast in itself of what
Brembos,
it.
look at that thing.
Yeah, I mean it's just super sweet on
The one
on
thing I didn't
everything.
care for, if you go scroll back up to the top, and is it looks great, all black, right?
Yeah.
Why is the shift linkage chrome? Go back.
Yeah, I don't know that one. I'm sure
No,
there's
no, I'm just saying, like think about it though. Like you put
yeah,
all
the whole
everything's
bike
matte
is black
black,
except for
or
that. I didn't even
the
realize
whole
that.
the whole piece. I mean, you got the brakes. Okay, no big deal. By the time you're gonna,
Yeah,
that is what it is. But it's like on this side of the bike, there's nothing besides your little
That shift
keyhole over
linkage.
there.
Right.
It's the shift linkage. So I would see probably the two things if you wanted to get a new business is get a shift linkage business to make all matte black product for this bike,
Yeah.
and or a new bumper light kit. Hell, do it as a package.
Yeah, sell those together. But I mean, just look at that.
I do like the intelligent system. I like the tachometer that's on there.
Yeah. And
That's pretty cool.
with all of these, they've got all of the modes: the sport mode, the track mode, the race mode, the rain mode, which of course I would be using a ton. Um, finding the rain
Yeah, with you for
everywhere
sure.
I go. So, but I
For
mean,
sure.
just it just is a monster of a bike. Just straight from Harley. So it's one that you don't have to do a whole lot to, other than rip that back fender off, and get a black shift linkage. There's not there's not much to do to it.
And at 15,999, I mean that definitely is a good price, and especially
Yeah.
for maybe some of those in between riders that are coming off of a crotch rocket
Well, and I think
that
that's
wants to
why.
get a little bit more immediate bike.
Yeah, I think that's exactly why I, really like it, because I was a sport bike guy before I was on my Harleys. So I'm kind of drawn to that. But the numbers that they're putting out, it says 121 horsepower, 93 foot-pounds of torque on a bike that
Oh
weighs
wow,
600 pounds.
that's crazy. That
I
thing's a
mean,
rocket ship.
yeah, and that is it's just gonna fly. And it's one of those bikes that a lot of dealers have. Some sitting around and can't sell them because it's a niche bike. You're looking for those guys that were on
Yeah,
sport bikes. Coming off of those, you're looking for that guy. And to me, it's a great bike. Probably one their best sellers of the past year have been the Road Glide and the lowriders, whether it's the S or the ST. Those are their two big sellers. And I think that this Sportster S is gonna come up to those three bikes. I think it's gonna be a huge one this year.
now, do you see this motor? I know you said that they have it in the Sportster S, and then they also have it, or do they have it in the full Sportster line? Is this the motor that they have,
So
or just
the
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 Sportster
Nightster,
S?
the Nightster, which is in that Sportster line, has the 975 um, in it, and then the Nightster
Okay,
Special also has the 975. So this one, so the Sportster S and the Pan America have the 1250 in it. So they're the only two that have that in it. Sorry, the Pan America CVO also has it in it. You know,
I got you. So this motor is only in these three lines, if that
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
say. I mean, if you consider the CVO and that, but
It's kind of the
that's kind of neat that they're putting this newer motor and as far as the technology that they probably put into it, you know what I mean?
yeah.
They're
Oh
using
yeah.
before that. Do you think they're going to get rid of the 975 and maybe put this throughout the whole line,
I don't
or
think so.
no?
I think the 975 is going to stick around because if you remember back, the Sportster, the original Sportster, had that 883 in it, and it was in it all the way
Yeah,
until they quit making it, and they put a 1200 in it. You could get it with a 1200, but the 883 was such a popular engine that they never got rid of it, and it stuck around forever.
yeah.
So I think you're gonna continue to see the 975 because people always want more power, and you're gonna see the 1250 stick around. You may see something bigger come out, maybe
Yeah,
a
yeah.
1500 or a 1650 or whatever.
That's
Um,
crazy. Think about
yeah,
that's just crazy.
yeah. And we're talking about bikes that are light. You're talking about bikes that are 600 pounds or less, and they've got that size Rev Max engine in them. And when you're thinking, oh well, it's a 1275 and the Sportsters used to have a 1200 in them, it's not the same. It's like comparing apples to oranges. It's not the same.
Right. Oh, for sure. For sure. But what now here, I'll ask you this question. Out of the entire models that you've seen, give me one that you just say, "What are you doing?" to Harley, and then give me one that you said that you think's a sleeper. I know you kind of dropped it a little bit, but give me your what are you thinking, and give me your sleeper out
Yeah.
of the
So
lineup.
my sleeper or my sleeper pick for this year is going to be the Sportster S. I think people are gonna see it and gonna jump all over it, just for what it is. I mean, like I said, it's kind of a niche bike, but I think you're gonna see a lot of people get into that. Um, and the one for me that it's like, what are you doing? And I know there are some guys out there that are like, oh, this is the best thing out there. It's the best thing since sliced bread. And it's just awesome. It's this one right here, and I don't get it.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with you on both of those. I was kicking around the Sportster, or not the Sportster, the Lowrider S. That was
Yeah,
mine, but that's kind of been a popular, like you said.
yeah,
But I will say the Sportster S, now knowing what they got going on with it, I think that, and I've never been a fan of
yeah.
that,
This is
of
to me,
of.
this is a dirt bike, and people who ride dirt bikes love
Mhm.
these. And don't get me wrong, it's got its spot. But where I live, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit here. You don't see a whole lot of them out on the road.
Yep.
And it just doesn't go. And it's meant to be kind of that dual sport. You can ride it on the road, you can ride it on the dirt, you can get off on trails and things. And that's not we don't have that where I live, so it's not one that I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Um, but here's the other funny one. They make a CVO version of this, and I'm like, what in the world? Like, I'm all for the CVO. Hey, it's a great collector edition thing and stuff. But
Yeah.
this one, I don't get it. So
I can't get behind it. I don't. It's
you
again. I'm
you
sure it fits a niche.
you said you can't get behind it. Think if you have to ride behind this person, and that's your view. That's what you get to see. I mean, just
It's yeah. That would
like
yeah.
I said,
Those
I
guys
don't get
usually
it.
ride in the back.
Yeah, I don't get it. And if you're a Pain America lover, I'm sorry. I'm gonna apologize to you. It's just not for me.
Yeah. Well, and on that too is, I mean, I'm not a Pan America either. I'm not into the off-road bikes or whatever it is. But to each their own.
Yeah,
I've never ridden one. Meaning that I've ridden a dirt bike before, and I've ridden like a little mini bike or whatever,
I
but I've
tried.
never ridden. I feel you sit too high up.
I tried.
Feel
I
that you
couldn't get
sit.
over it. I felt like I was gonna tip over. I was like tiptoe, and I was like, this is not good. I'm gonna fall off of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, for people that are short, I'm short as well. I know those bikes. I mean, they're up to like my mid,
Yeah.
like, uh,
So
like ribs.
they're supposed to adjust, and when you take off they like raise up or whatever, and I've heard that that you can touch the ground on them and you'll be fine or whatever, but it's just like I said, it's just not one for me. Like I'm not a fan.
So we'll get it. We'll kind of end it on this. But do you think 2025 for Harley? Do you think they did well? Do you think they kind of just said, "Hey, we're going to be in the right lane, throw it in fifth gear and cruise," or do you think that they're way behind the pack? Where are you at on that?
I think Harley is very innovative when it comes to what they're doing. They've got some great paint schemes, they've got some good ideas, some good things going, but I feel like they played it a little safe this year. But you got to remember, in 24, they redid all of the fairings that they had. They redid the street glide fairings. They redid the road glide fairings. So those bikes were brand new, like all redone in 2024. They came out and they made some small changes to the Softail lineup. Nothing real huge. I think you're going to see some of the holdover bikes, some of the 24 bikes, go for really cheap, because of the 25s coming out that are the same thing. So somebody's going to go to the dealer and find a 24 that hasn't been bought yet, and be like, hey, this one's been sitting around a year. Make me a deal, and you're going to see a bunch of those 24s come flying off of showroom floors.
Well, you know what? Sometimes I know people are. Let's wait until the next year comes out to see what kind of deals. Like if you fell in love with the 24 style, which Some people hate it, some people love it. But when you're
Yeah.
so used to having the same thing from 2014 to 2024, now people are like, oh, well, they've seen them on the road. They're starting to get used to it a little bit more and more. And then you're going to start seeing a lot of these other manufacturers come out with all these different accessories and stuff. And a lot of the stuff that I've seen is Harley will take cues from some of these aftermarket companies making these parts.
Yeah, you're exactly right,
So,
and that's something that a lot of people have said is that the 24s are hard to get aftermarket parts for because they haven't really designed them yet. If you
right.
watch YouTube, some of those, Thrashin and Blockhead and all those guys, they're working on 24s. They're changing some stuff, but it takes some time to redo what you've been able to do for the past 6-8 years because you've got to redo everything. Like the way that just think about the 24s for the street glides and road glides, the handlebars aren't the same as what they've been for the
Right.
past 5 years or 8 years or however long. A road glide now you can get to the handlebars with 4 bolts on the
Oh, wow.
24s. It literally just takes 4 bolts and it's just the top clamp. You unclamp it, put the new bars on, and clamp it back down.
Kind of like your old school BMX bike.
Yep. Yep, exactly. That's exactly what it is. And before it was kind of buried behind your gauges and your center console and all that stuff. Now it's not. You can get to it literally in 4 bolts.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I want to let's wrap this up here. Craig, Lee, give final thoughts. Give us something. Give us a final
So,
thought here.
so final thoughts for today are: don't be afraid to go out and jump on a bike at a dealership. Don't be afraid to go out and try something that you're not sure whether you like it or not. Try new things. See what's out there. You may fall in love with something that you're like, oh, I don't like that, and you go and you try it, you ride it, you drive it, and it's just something that you fall in love with.
That's always a good thing. I know Harley for a while there was doing that. Hey, test drive when the 24s came out.
Yeah.
Test drive the new 24 Street Glide. Test drive the new 24 Road Glide, and then they would give you a challenge coin,
Yep.
which that's a perfect thing. And I agree with you on that. I think that's a great get out of your comfort zone. Like I said, I've never, one thing that I'm going to do this year, and if I get the opportunity to, I'm going to see if I can go drive a Pan America just to drive it. I have no interest in buying one, but
Yeah.
I may have more respect for it.
For sure.
So,
Hey,
and the one
we should
thing
go
that
to a
I'll
dealer and we
always
should go
should.
to a dealer and ride them both at the same time.
Well, you know what? That would probably actually be a good video. We can
Yeah.
do a walk around and see if we can do the pros and cons of the Pan America and see if we can our minds can be changed in the overall thought of it. So, but the one thing that I'll leave with is, when it comes to looking at a purchase, and you've heard me say this, oh, this MSRP, this MSRP, there's always going to be a bike that's in your price range. But it's just a matter of getting um, either settling or compromising on what is most important. So if a color is more important, then you're going to pay a little bit more. If there's an accessory that you want, you're going to pay a little bit more. Or wait and see if the vehicle or the motorcycle fits your needs. If you want to get an ultra limited, okay, but you can't afford a 2025 or a 2024. You know what? Get in the 19, 20, 21, somewhere in there. It's still going to have all the bells and whistles because that's what Harley's doing. They're trying out all of this technology after each year. Look, they went to the new screen in, what was it, 2019, 2020?
19
Not
was the
not the
first.
big one.
Yeah, 19 was the
So
first year for the GTS.
so they figured that out, right? Everybody loves that screen. Now they went
It's
ahead and
even
broadened
bigger.
it and made this huge.
Yeah, the
But
Skyline.
that's everything. There's no gauges. There's no nothing. That's all your screen.
Yeah.
But look at a lot of the cars that are coming out today. That's how it is.
Yep.
So don't be afraid of that change. and don't necessarily get down and you can't afford a 2025, look to see what else is out there. You may find something that you will like. So I'm saying be open minded when it comes to look for a new motorcycle.
There we
We've got a
go.
lot of things that are coming up, or even a car, and then I'll stop off this tangent. But you got some motorcycle shows that are coming up in 2 weeks down in Indy. We'll talk about that next show. Um, and then you got the auto show that's coming up this week up here in Chicago. And, there's so much things that you don't know what could be. I mean, it may fall in your price range. So,
Yeah, you're exactly right.
but as always, Craig, thank you so much for an awesome episode. And I can't believe this is episode number 4 already.
Well, yeah, for sure.
So,
So we'll kick it away,
awesome.
and we will see you guys next Tuesday.